There, Vicky Gaines here. Measures of central tendencies, what we're going to be working on, including weighted mean and group frequency distributions, throwing in just a touch of distribution shapes. Let's learn something new. The weighted mean, here's our formula explanation. Find the weighted mean of a variable x by multiplying each value by its corresponding weight and dividing the sum of the products by the sum of the weights. Here's a formula. X bar is mean. We've probably seen that before. There's our summation sign, and we have it on top and on bottom. There's a sum of the products, and there's the sum of the weights. So N is the sample size. So each data value and its corresponding weight have a common subscript. So you're going to go through and do the ones, and then the twos, and the third data value with its weight all the way up to N, which is the sample size. Here we go. Example. You're taking a class in which your grade's determined by 5 sources. 50% is from your test, and your test is 86%. 15% is from your midterm. Your midterm was 96%. 20% is from your final exam, which was 82%. 10% is from your computer lab work, which was 98%. And 5% is from your homework. So those are all the weights, and your homework grade was 100. Nice job for getting it done. What is the weighted mean of your scores? And if the minimum average of an A is 90%, did you get an A? So we are going to find the weighted mean and figure out if you earned an A or not. So we need to multiply the grade with the weight to get our products. So multiply those. You can use your calculator. That's 43. Multiply 14.4, multiply, we get 16.4, multiply 9.8, and multiply, we get 5. We need to get the sum of the products and the sum of the weights. And our formula is to divide the sum of the products by the sum of the weights. So let's put our values in. 88.6 over 1, 88.6%. There's our weighted mean. That's the average for the class. So did you get an A? No, you didn't quite get the 90%. Try it yourself. One is just a little bit different than the one we just did. Oops, an error was made in grading your final exam. Instead of getting an 82 on your final exam, you actually scored a 98. Way to go. What is your new weighted mean? So there's all of our weights, and the sum of the weights is 1. We need to get our products, so multiply. They're all going to be the same except for this one right here. Final exam is now 98. So the weighted mean is going to be calculated with that instead. So 20% of your grade is now a 98. And we get 19.6 for that product. Get these down. Some of the products is a little bit different this time because your final exam grade went up. 98.1 divided by 1. Yes, you got an A in the class, 91.8%. Try yourself 2 is weighted mean, just a little bit different. A student received an A in English Composition 1, which is a 3-credit class, which in college means the class is going to meet 3 hours a week. They have a C in Introduction to Psychology, which is also a 3-credit class. They got a B in Biology 1, that's a 4-credit class, and a D, boo on you, how can you get a D in Physical Education? That's a 2-credit class. So let's see, English Composition, the grade was an A. So the grading Point scale is to the left there, and an A is worth 4 points. Introduction to Psychology was a C, and looking over there, a C is worth 2. Biology 1 is a B, so that's a 3. And once again, boo on you, 1 grade point for physical education. So the weights is dependent on the number of hours or the credits per class. So 3, 3, 4, and 2. We need to multiply those to get our products. So 4 times 3 is 12, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 4 is 12, and 1 times 2 is 2. The sum of the products is 32. Sum of the weights is 12. So they took 12 credit hours that semester. To get the grade is the sum of the products divided by the sum of the weights. So 32 divided by 12 is a 2.67. So that's the GPA for that semester. Try it yourself 3. Tickets for a concert were priced at different amounts depending on the seating and how far in advance the tickets were purchased. For the amounts paid and how many at each price is given there off to the right. Find the mean cost of the tickets. So we need to do our multiplying. 4,000, $15. There were 300 of those tickets. That is 4,500. $20 tickets, there was 450 sold. That's $9,000. $25 tickets, there were 200 of those. That's 5,000. And $50 tickets, only 50 of those sold. That's 2,500. Some of the products, 25,000. Some of the weights, that's the number of tickets altogether, 1,400. Sum of the products divided by the sum of the weights, and it's money. So let's go to the nearest cent. So on average, the cost per ticket was $17.86. And that is on average. It's the mean cost of the tickets. ACT practice problem. Kayla earned 85, 95, 93, and 80 points on 4 tests. They're each worth 100 points. That's the test given so far this term. How many points must she earn on her 5th test? Also worth 100 points, to average 90 points for the 5 tests given. So recall, to get the mean of 5 test scores, you add up all 5 scores and divide by 5. There we go. There's all 5 test scores. The 5th one, we don't know what it is. It's X. And we're dividing by the total number. And 90 is what we want to score. That's the average that we are hoping to get. Let's simplify this. So we can add together 85, 95, 93, and 80. And we get this simplification. We need to get rid of that 5. So we're going to multiply both sides of our equation by 5. That's going to get rid of those. So we get 353 plus X is 450. Subtract the 353 on both sides. X is 97. So that would be the average test score. SAT practice problem. The average weight of 5 boys is 75.2 pounds. If the oldest boy is excluded, so we don't know his weight, the average weight of the 4 remaining boys is 77 pounds. What is the weight in pounds of the oldest boy? So let's see. To get the total weight for the 4 boys, because they average 77, we can multiply 77 by 4, and then the X is the boy that's excluded, the oldest boy. So there's all 5 weights, and we're dividing by the total number of boys, which is 5, and that's the average weight. They told us that in the first sentence. The average weight of the 5 boys is 75.2 pounds. Let's simplify this. We get 308 plus x over 5 equals 75.2. We need to get rid of that 5 on the left-hand side. So we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 5. That eliminates this for us. Let's simplify. We get 308 plus x equals 376. Subtract 308 from both sides, and x is 68. So we need to fill that in, 6 and 8, and color in our circles. Example, a random sample of the life expectancy of residents for 25 countries in Asia was selected. Find the mean, class of the median, and modal class. The easiest one to find is the modal class because that's just the one with the highest frequency, which is 6. Go back. Now we want the class limits, not the class boundaries. So we're going to have to go up 0.5 from the lower end and down 0.5 from the upper end. Now we will need the midpoints in order to find the mean and class of the median, which we'll do on another screen, but the midpoints. Average the class boundaries because those are what's given. So we would add the 42.5 and the 47.5, get that total, and divide by 2. So our midpoints are 45, and you can keep doing that for each of them, but we know how to deal with grouped frequency distributions, and it looks like our class width is 5. Because we can subtract the 47.5 minus the 42.5. So if you're jumping from lower class boundary to lower class boundary and going 5, you're going to jump that same amount to go from midpoint to midpoint. So just keep adding 5 and you should get all the midpoints. Now let's calculate mean and get class of the median. Using Desmos to get the mean, there's a step-by-step for group frequency distribution there on the left that you can use to help you use Desmos. So create a list for the midpoints, which is x sub 1. And that comes up when you get a table. And we just put the midpoints in 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, and then create a list for the frequencies. So call that f sub 1 and put in all of our frequencies. It says to get the mean, we need to find the total of the products and divide by the total of the frequencies. So I put that in and I got 64. Continuing on with this example, we're going to use our graphing calculators. I have a TI-84. TI-83 is going to be slightly different. We need to find the mean, class of the median. Modal class we already found. That was the class with the highest frequency, which was 6. And remember, we wanted the class limits, not the class boundaries. So we need to press stat on our graphing calculator, and this is what should come up, and we're going to push edit. So that is just with an enter because we need to put our data values into our list. In list 1, we're going to put our midpoints. In list 2, we're going to put our frequencies. So there is all the data values put in to list 1, list 2. Just be careful that you are putting in the correct values because it's going to give you an answer whether you put in the correct values or not. So let's do some calculating. So back to stat. Over to calculate, and you can see up between the stat and the enter, when you press stat, the screen that comes up, and we need to go over to calculate. So press calculate. This is what comes up, and we do want one variable statistics. TI-83 calculator. After the enter, you're going to have to press second 1, comma, second 2, and then enter. in the TI-84 is going to look like this and give you prompts. List 1 is going to automatically default to that typically. We need to put in for our frequency list, list 2. So that would be our second 2, like up above. This is what we get, and there's our mean. X bar is 64. And if you scroll down, median is 65. Now 65 is just one of the midpoints. We need the class of the median. It's going to come up as one of the midpoints because those are the only values that we put in. We don't know the actual data values. Same situation, we need to continue on and use the information we just found to get our answers. There is the mean, so 64 is our mean. And if we scroll down, remember we got our median, which was 65. And that is just the class of the median that we want. The midpoint, those are the only values that we put in the graphing calculator. So we don't know all the exact data values in here. We just know how many are in each group. So 65 is in the class with the boundaries, 62.5 up to but not including 67.5. So to find the class of the median, you go up 0.5 from the bottom, down 0.5 from the top, and that's 63 to 67. ACT practice problem. A company earned a profit of $8 million for each of 3 consecutive years. So let's put that in our table. I have a table there for us as our ACT. They're not going to give you a table, but maybe you need to make one, or just put it in your graphing calculator. We're going to be using our graphing calculator. It's up there on the screen. So 8 million is in millions. And the answer is supposed to be in millions. So just put 8, and that's for 3 consecutive years. For each of the next 2 years, the company earned a profit of 9 million. So 9 million for 2 years. So we're going to put our values in list 1 and list 2, profit in list 1, and frequencies in list 2, and do all the steps that we did before. Stat, calculate, 1 variable statistics, list 1, comma list 2, and there's our mean, which is 8.4. Here we go, distribution shapes. So here is that same frequency distribution, and I'm going to make up bars to help us visualize what's going on, kind of based on the frequency. So we have a couple 2s, 3's a little bit higher, a couple 3's, 4, 6, 3, and 2. And we can turn that to see that it is negatively skewed. Here we go. There it is turned. And this is negatively skewed or left skewed. Here's another one. The data represent the number of miles run during 1 week for a sample of 20 runners. So our frequency should total 20. Find the mean, class of the median, modal class. We're going to be using our graphing calculator for this. Modal class is the easiest to find because that is the highest frequency. So there we have it. Those are class boundaries, up 0.5 from the bottom, down 0.5 from the top. 21 to 25 would be the class. That is the modal class for this data set. Midpoints, average, your class boundaries. You can see that the class width is 5. Calculate the bottom one and keep adding 5. or you can calculate every single one. I just don't think you need to spend the time doing that. Midpoints are going to go in list 1, frequencies in list 2. There they are. Stat, calculate 1 variable, list 1, list 2. There's our mean, 24.5. Scroll down, you get the 5 number summary. Median right there is 23. There is the midpoint. There is the class of the median. Technically, the boundaries up 0.5 from the bottom, down 0.5 from the top, and it's 21 to 25. Distribution shapes. Let's put in our bars. I've already turned it, and that looks basically bell shape. This concludes today's lesson. This is Vicki Gaines, hoping you learned something new. Until next time, have a great day.